If you're interested in creating terrariums, a very useful skill to learn is how to propagate plants. Unfortunately, a lot of people seem to think it's quite hard and that you need a green thumb to be able to successfully propagate plants. This simply isn't true. In fact, I find most plants to be quite easy to propagate. So in this video I'm going to show you the step-by-step process of propagating a few different plants. Before we can start, we need to prepare a few pots. And with the pots comes the basis for successful plant growth: the substrate. In most cases, using damp sphagnum moss will be a perfect substrate for propagating plants. However, as of recording this video, I didn't have any on hand, so instead I used some of this leftover terrarium substrate. This is a mixture I made myself and consists out of charcoal, cocoa fiber, sphagnum moss, sand and pieces of bark. If mixing your own substrate sounds intimidating, don't worry. You can always propagate your plants in water. Now let's get started propagating some plants. We're going to start off with this Pilea species. It has grown quite large and can really use a haircut. Now it doesn't really matter where you cut the plant, but I usually cut right above a pair of leaves, as this will give us a really long stem to plant into the soil. And there we go, our plant has had a haircut. To maximize the yield, I'm cutting some of our larger cuttings into smaller bits. Now all of these cuttings can be stuck right into the soil. Ta-da! We got a pot full of cuttings. And this technique isn't limited to this specific plant. It works on a wide range of different plants. I also got this Vertonia. This is a very popular plant in the terrarium hobby. I've got two varieties here, the white vein and the pink vein variety. And these plants propagate the exact same way. Cut off a piece, stick it into the soil and leave it alone. It really is that easy. Next up is this Ficus pumila. This one is almost the same, except that I'd recommend you get cuttings that have at least 4 leaves on them, but preferably 6 or 8. Other than that, just stick them in the soil. Now when growing out these cuttings, I'd recommend placing them in a container like this. Since it's sealed off, the humidity will stay really high and more closely resemble the conditions of a terrarium. But before we can store them away, we need to give them a good misting. With the cuttings all set, it's time to find a suitable location for them. I keep mine in this cabinet. I've added a light in there which is on a timer for 10 hours a day. This works really well for me, but is in no way realistic for someone just starting out. What I'd recommend you do instead is place your bin in a very light area without any direct sunlight. Underneath a window like this would be perfect. Now all that's left to do is wait for these plants to start growing. In the meantime, I recommend you watch this video next to see how I use some of these plants in one of my recent projects. I'll see you there.